Let me ask you a question. What's an animal you'd love to have as a pet? Maybe you'd love to have a monkey, maybe a zebra, or maybe a dinosaur. I'm Bob from World 5 List. Join me as I talk about 6 creatures that you probably wish you could have as a pet. Number 6. The unicorn. Yes, of course, I'm beginning my list with a creature that's barely different from something you can actually have in your own world, a unicorn. But hey, despite just being a horse with a horn on its head, unicorns are something that a whole lot of people actually would want as a pet. And sure, maybe those people are primarily female, but hey, if they want one, who am I to judge? I mean, there are groups of men who do love My Little Pony. Shout out to all my bronies out there. So frankly, do whatever you like. There have also been a lot of legends about unicorns. In fact, some people believe they actually existed. And naturally, fantasy stories have spun some of the more wild tales about them and what they could do. In the realm of Harry Potter, unicorns actually come in various colors, including being pure silver and gold. Their blood is also something that can be used to extend life, though it does come at a cost. But why? Well, that's because the world deems it a terrible crime to kill a unicorn. Unicorns are often portrayed as majestic and being far more beautiful and elegant than a regular horse, which is why they're popular among many. Many cartoons have also featured unicorns, and some people have even created Unicorn Planet. I mean, do I need to say more? Okay, I will. No matter what genre or in what mind of the person, unicorns are a part of our culture, so it's not so much of a stretch to say that many have wanted them as pets. Number 5. Wolves. Now I'm going to mix some real world and some fantasy here because both of these deserve entries on my list. Not to mention, wolves are one of my favorite animals. Dogs make great pets, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them are derived from wolf species. And the difference is that a dog can be domesticated while a wolf really can't in most cases. As a zoo worker once told me and my family, you can train a wolf, but you can never tame one. And I believe it's that desire to prove them wrong that wants us all to have wolves as pets. Perhaps what's most alluring to people is the danger of it all. After all, wolves are perceived as being evil in many cultures. The big bad wolf, a wolf in sheep's clothing, the wolf among us. The list goes on and on and on, and yet despite all of the warnings, we do see wolves as something that could be cool to have as a pet. Objectively, it's not difficult to see why. After all, wolves are clever, cunning, and very sly. They know the benefit of hunting in packs. They're actually able to do that naturally, whereas packs of wild dogs don't work well together. And there's also the knowledge that if something goes wrong, you know that your wolf is going to defend you in the end. And they won't be afraid to murder to do so. Wolves are majestic creatures, and just feel like the next tier in regards to owning a canine. And then there are direwolves. Straight from the mind of George R.R. Martin, direwolves start out as simple dogs, even being born as small puppies, but then they grow. While the stories of Game of Thrones via the books allowed us a picture of what was going on with the direwolves, it was the show itself that truly displayed the majesty and terror that these creatures could inflict. Yet the direwolves are also incredibly loyal to the Stark children. Each of them would have and did risk their lives for their masters, and some of the coolest moments of the show have been when the direwolves stepped up to face danger or even certain death. In fact, for most fans, it was a tragedy that 4 of the 6 direwolves were killed in the show and the books, with only 2 remaining, Ghost, belonging to Jon Snow, and Nymeria. The former is in Winterfell, and the latter would be released in Season 1. We met it again in Season 7, fully grown and leading a pack, yet honoring her former master, who she let live. So it looks like elephants aren't the only creatures that never forget. Number 4, giant birds. But first, be sure to subscribe if you're new here and let me know what animal you wish you could have as a pet in the comments below. There are a whole lot of desires that we as humans have that I would define as primal, meaning that sometimes we don't know why we want these things, but we just do. One of them is the desire to fly. Now, yeah, we have airplanes and hang gliders and jetpacks to a certain extent, but there's something about being up there without any kind of mechanical assistance that just feels right, and to have a giant bird that you could fly on through the skies would be awesome. Funnily enough, there were a lot of giant birds in prehistoric times. Some of them even had wingspans that were the length of several cars put together. In fantasy and media, we've seen plenty of examples of giant birds and bird-like creatures, like the giant eagles from Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit stories. And then there's the hippogriffs from Harry Potter. Harry's face really says it all, and he's flown on a broomstick, but there's something special about flying on a winged creature. Sadly, the desire's going to have to remain rooted in the realm of fantasy, but dreams will live on, and man will always want to fly, and they'll probably craft creatures in their minds that will help them to do so. Number 3, big cats. Now, a little clarification, because when I say big cats, I don't really mean large tabbies or fat house cats. I'm talking about lions, tigers, and cheetahs, and panthers, and all those kinds. These are the big cats that I would venture a guess that some of you would have thought about having as pets, and maybe you even have. But why not? These cats are cool, intimidating, and fierce, and if you could gain their loyalty, just imagine the possibility. I think the reason that many of us wish we had a lion or a tiger as a pet is because we see them in documentaries and other shows and think, man, those things are beautiful and big and I wish I could have one. Or we see them portrayed on television in such a way that we wish it was our reality. Take, for example, King Ezekiel and his pet Shiva, the tiger. Shiva is eternally loyal to her king and even sacrificed her life so that he could be saved in a recent season of The Walking Dead. Now, to have that kind of loyalty would be all kinds of cool. The best part, though, is that these cats live in our world, so potentially, though likely not legally, this could happen, and it makes it all the more desirable. Is it likely to happen? Probably not in most suburbs, but there's a chance, if even a small one. On a personal note, while I would love to have a tiger or a panther on my side, I would go even more old school, getting a saber-tooth. That's one cat that I could definitely see myself leading into battle. He-Man, anyone? Number 2, dinosaurs. Now, when you look at the creatures of our world today, it's really difficult to think that there were anything bigger, scarier, or even deadlier. And yet, there were. They were called the dinosaurs. History lesson over. Just kidding. Dinosaurs roamed the prehistoric Earth, and it took a literal disaster of epic proportions to wipe them out. But if they did still exist today, they'd be really cool as pets. In fact, I would dare say that they'd be on the list of dream pets, because dinosaurs are the ones that have been visualized the most. Just look at stories like Dinotopia, where there's a civilization literally built upon humans and dinosaurs coexisting in harmony, and some of them even talk. Or, more recently, Jurassic World, and the relationship between Owen and Blue, which is going to be a focus in the next film. Just imagine roaming around the land on the back of a Triceratops, my personal favorite, or even flying through the skies on a pterodactyl. Or, if you must, having a Tyrannosaurus Rex that you could use to scare the crap out of anyone who tried to mess with you or walked on your lawn. The possibilities are endless, as there are many different kinds of dinosaurs out there. Sure, some of them are so huge it's hard to imagine them being pets, but again, that's why we dream. And speaking of huge, number 1, dragons. Now, I'll say it, and everyone say it with me, Dracarys. The undisputed holy grail creature that we wish we could all have as a pet is without a doubt the dragon. And let's be honest, if you haven't wanted a dragon as a pet in your life, you really need to read more fantasy. Dragons are one of the most mysterious creatures of the world that honestly can't be explained, and multiple cultures have legends about them, long before they even met one another. Their legend grew to be used in television, video games, books, movies, cartoons, and more, so it shouldn't be a surprise that they're on the top of my list. Most dragons, regardless of their design, are epic on their own. They can fly, they're hard to kill, they breathe fire, or ice and other things. And if you raise them well, they're really good pets and loyal allies. Game of Thrones really helped to bring dragons back into the spotlight, as we got to see them grow from cute little flying lizards to death from above that everyone feared. And if you had a dragon at your side, you'd be instantly respected. You would be the top dog. Even dinosaurs couldn't compare to dragons, and dinosaurs were actually real. They're one of the epitomes of epic fantasy culture. Now, yes, you could argue that if dragons were around in our real world, they'd be problematic to say the least, especially if they're wild and not trained. But hey, it's my fantasy, so back off. And who among you hasn't dreamed of being a dragon warrior, a knight, or even someone from Game of Thrones? A king or a queen of the dragons? That's what I thought. Thanks for watching. What did you think of these pets to be? And which one would you personally own and why? Let me know all about it in the comments below. Be sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you next time on World 5.